You're watching The Edward Fowler Show. Now, here's your host, Edward Fowler.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my show here on this Thursday evening or afternoon, or maybe even Friday morning, depending where you're listening or watching this. And we are live for the first time this week. We do apologize if you were hoping to tune into another guest early on in the week. I announced somebody else to come on the show on Monday, but because there was some time difficulties with them, they kind of forgot the time difference and they couldn't make it. So we've got that rescheduled for later in the month, so I don't want to give that away in case that might change. But tonight, it's a pleasure to have on this great singer / songwriter who is joining my show, and I do appreciate as well, before we get going, your lovely response. So it's not often I get potential guests saying about how much they enjoyed other interviews I conducted on this show. So it's quite nice to receive a nice compliment as well. So thank you for tuning in to that particular episode you saw with I sent you one of the samples of my work with I think it was Jessica Lynn. I believe it was a great country singer who I had on the show back in August of 2023. But no, please welcome on right now, Emme Lentino. How are you?
I'm great, Edward. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And I do appreciate you for accepting to be on the show this evening. And to prove that this is a live show, we do have a live comment from Brad. Thank you for tuning in, Brad. And he says, "Hey, Emme," with a smiley face.
Hello, Brad. Oh, my goodness. It's so great that you can join us this evening. I know Brad is a lovely listener of my music and a great man of faith. And it's great that, he's taken time out of his busy schedule he's on the East Coast, and he said, "I'll join if I don't have a meeting right at that time." So I was like, wow, yay!
Well, I know you, of course, are from the US, but you've moved to New Zealand, haven't you? And I want to know,
yes.
Was the transition moving from the US to New Zealand difficult for you at first, or did you find the transition quite easy? And how are things over there in New Zealand? If you're there in a moment, you might be not there in a moment, but obviously when you go back over there, how is life in New Zealand?
Yeah, thank you. So I am currently living in New Zealand, and I'm here now. That's where I'm based. I love New Zealand. It is a beautiful, beautiful country, and I feel really, really blessed that this is where God has placed me with, not necessarily a family from my childhood, but family that I've been able to create with friends and then my own children. So it's very special. But to answer your question, the transition moving from New York City, which is where I was, to the hustle and bustle of, the entertainment industry there and, busy life, to moving to a sheep farm in New Zealand, that is pretty extremely different from one another. So I would say I'm one of those people. I'm a great adventurer. I always have been, and I love challenges. And so for me, probably initially, even though it was probably quite different and difficult, I kind of just focused on, the adventure of it. And I think it was later, probably about 7 years later, that I really kind of found myself adjusting. And I don't know if that ever happens to anyone else, but you kind of plunge in and you sort of don't really pay attention to as much differences. But I think when I was maybe older and more mature and I was raising children, I think I was like, oh, this is quite different. And I really missed my mom and dad at that point too, to be able to, share in that joy of having kids. But yeah, I think it's like anything, life is an adventure, and I think positive perspectives and being really brave and resilient certainly helps. It doesn't always make everything easy, but that's life, right? Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully that's answered your question.
No, thank you. It's a great answer. And, it's great to see, to have someone on from New Zealand on this show, because you are making history by being the first New Zealander, I guess now you're a New Zealander, to be on the show So you're making
Wow.
history, yes, because the only person I've had on from that far from the world is an Australian called Teo Witchy, who now actually lives in America. So
Oh my goodness. Exciting.
so it's quite funny how I get to
Hilarious.
do a full 360 now, where I got somebody who's
Yes.
from America now living in New Zealand. It's quite good. I like that.
Yeah, no, it's I always say I'm an American in Kiwi land, and I am now also a citizen as well, which is, really, really exciting. And I know that that's something that's quite cool, and
Yeah.
not everybody gets a chance to do that. So I know that I'm really quite blessed to have that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on your citizenship of being a part of the New Zealander culture. And what was one of the driving points for you to be like, yep, this is a place I would love to be a part of and to be a part of their culture? Because I guess was there any cultures you got into straight away when you moved over there?
I think, yeah, I mean, initially it was, there was lots of, I did this actually a few months ago. I had an opportunity to entertain some people about, just life and the differences between our two countries. But
Yeah.
I think initially it was probably that a lot of the phrasings and, things mean one thing to me, and coming from, I was a kid growing up in Oregon, and then I'd say that here in New Zealand, and it was, met with a lot of confusion. And also on the other side, when people would say something to me, I would kind of question them, like, well, what exactly does that mean? So there was a lot of like funny little nuances of just, speaking English, but having completely different interpretation. So that was funny. But I think to answer your question about becoming a citizen, it was really, really important to me. Both my children were born here in New Zealand, had New Zealand passports, as well as I also applied for American passports for them. And I really wanted to have that connection with the country that I was living in, the beautiful people that I've met here, and not only to show that appreciation, but also to really feel like I was fully immersed in the place that I had chosen to live. So, yeah, and it was a process for sure, as with anything, right? Anyone that's applied for any sort of visa or anything, you really get an appreciation for how much of a privilege it is to be able to live somewhere else and work somewhere else. And so, yeah, I'm now a proud citizen of both America and New Zealand. And I remember actually someone took a photo of me at the ceremony when you're inducted into New Zealand Life.
Yeah.
And there's a photo of me with my hands up in the air, like I look like a cheerleader, because I was. And actually, they had said, make as much noise as you'd like when you hear your country, the country that you're representing, right? And I think I was the only American at that point in that ceremony, and I hooped and hollered like I took. And I think there was a little bit of silence afterwards that I was met with, that of like this, oh, she was really going for it.
We had another message from Brad as well to say that Emmy is one of my longtime friends from South Carolina.
Oh, wow. South Carolina. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's from
That is so cool.
from Brad, of course, giving a shout out to South Carolina, and I hope you like that. But I mean, what a great story, and it's quite good that you're now a dual citizen as well, because I bet there's not many people can say that as well. So kudos for being able to do that. And was there any things from your time living in America, of course, which you brought over to New Zealand, to any of your neighbours and whatever, which you thought was quite good for them to know about your culture from where you've come from, and maybe they've mixed it in with their culture now?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest, I'm so glad you asked that, because one of the biggest things that I think I was able to bring to the small town that we were living in at the time, so this is when I was on the farm.
Yeah.
I started a theater company for kids. And so I started teaching kids theater, music, and dance in our local area. And at the time, there wasn't any programs for them. and a lot of it was volunteer, and some of it was for like a gold coin, a donation. And so it really allowed me to meet tons and tons of people in that community. And one of the things that the parents said, yeah, it was really cool, and it still is one of the biggest highlights of coming to New Zealand, was the joy and the love that I experienced through these amazing, talented kids. I mean, they were so talented. Some of them have gone on to do big things, and they still write me messages. At the time I was going by Emily Ann, because that's my birth name, Emily Ann. And so but Emmy is like my nickname. So they would say, "Oh, Emily Ann, I loved your classes and I learned so much." But one of the things the parents said to me was, your belief that anybody can do anything, and that kind of that dream becomes alive. They were like, "Is that an American thing?" And I said, "Well, probably. There's a lot of that, that you can be anything that you dream you can be, and that drive, that whatever the circumstances you're in doesn't determine your life. It can, and that, yes." So that was interesting. And then I said, well, probably also my mom and dad, just the way that they always were encouraging me and telling me to, to try my best, but also to love other people and cheer them on. That kind of also was my inspiration. So when I moved to New Zealand, I feel like I carried those things within my heart, and I was able to teach the young people that I was around. And I didn't really think anything of it, except later on when, their parents commented and they said, little Johnny came home and he really is so excited to learn, and he was really shy, but now he feels like he can do anything. And it's actually teaching my husband and I that we need to be a lot more, what did she say, something about we need to be more positive about what's coming.
Yeah.
And it was quite cool to hear that, because I hadn't really ever thought that my upbringing or what I had experienced as an American was really anything. I didn't know that it was so special, I guess is what I'm saying, until I was in an environment where people were like, I feel like really hungry to know that, that they really could do anything and they could be anyone. So I hope that's clear. All of these like memories are coming back to me now, So it's quite
nice.
Cool.
And as well, as you're talking about it, and then all these memories flooding back to you, it's probably bringing it's like yesterday when all these great things happened as well. So it's quite that you get to reminisce with them again and bring back all the good memories so far of your journey.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
We have a message as well. Again, this is live, so this is completely live. And I sort of say, if you're a brand new listener or viewer to this, this is a unedited and unscripted show, and this is a very different style. I hope Emmy likes this kind of style of the show. But we do have a message from SL Fanpage, who says, "Great to see you with Edward, Emma," from Paul Hawkins in the UK with a waving emoji.
Paul, hello. How are you, my friend? It's so great to hear from you, and thank you again for all of your love and support and encouragement for my music and for the message that I want to share. And Paul is an amazing individual. I actually met him just through Instagram, and we had a lot of connections in common. He's an amazing person that is also a friend of Shirley Lewis, who is an amazing artist and songwriter and performer with George Michael. She was one of his longest-standing backing vocalists that toured around the world, and so we actually met through Shirley. So Paul's a great guy, and Shirley's amazing. So love to you both, and thank you for your support.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the reason why I reached out to you is because when I came across your music, I can't remember how it was now. It might have been through Facebook or Instagram or the other, and I loved it, and that's why I reached out to you to give you to my audience, who again, by the way, who are probably a lot smaller compared to your fan base. So I do really appreciate you coming on to my little small show. So I do appreciate your time and your support as well this evening. So I do appreciate that, and I feel like it opens you up to my small audience and vice versa, I guess.
Yeah, no, thank you. I was super surprised when you reached out. I was like, oh wow, this is really really cool, and it meant a lot. And I think you do have, actually, you don't have a small audience. You've got a lot of people from all over that are excited to be a part of something that you share, because I think that that's what's really cool, is that you're so engaging with your listeners and people that subscribe. And I think that especially after COVID, people are really hungry to belong and to be a part of something and to feel encouraged. And you do that. And I think that that's something that is really inspiring. So yeah, I'm thrilled that that you invited me. I was like, woohoo, I'm doing this.
Yes. Well, I appreciate that, and I hope you come back on for many more years to come as well. And I said to all my guests that, and some take me up on it, and some for some reason don't, and then don't hear from them ever again. For some reason, I don't know. Probably because they're so busy. Probably. That's what I think. I think it's because they're so busy. But who knows for that? But you, of course, you've been around different places, and what's been some of your, I guess, favorite places to perform music in front of? That makes sense.
Yeah. So when I moved to New Zealand, I was really immersed in both New Zealand culture and Australian culture, because at the time, and I guess I should probably mention this because it is a big part of my story. You did ask me, well, how did I end up in New Zealand? And the short form of that is that I was really good friends with an amazing entrepreneur and just a brilliant guy called Tony Lentino. And we had been friends since 2007, and we kept running into each other at these, work conferences and whatnot. Anyway, and he said, you should come out to Australia and do some work with me. This was back in 2007, and I did. And then a few years later, I was living in New York, and he said, you should come out to New Zealand. It is a country of peace. And I said, oh, okay, and I did. I was like, oh, the Lord of the Rings. That was all I knew about New Zealand. And I came, and it was everything that he had said that it was. It was really the most gorgeous and lush green country and place I had ever been. And I think that this is definitely one of my highlights, is in terms of, yes, I have the privilege of living here, but it's just the most beautiful place. With the ocean has always spoken to me. Like, it's just always been a place that I felt God's love, and I felt his peace. And so being able to be surrounded by the most gorgeous oceans, and the people are really nice, and it's really great. And then from there, I've been able to obviously go to Australia, and I performed twice at the Tamworth Country Music Festival, and that was a real highlight for me in terms of my music career, because before Tony passed away. So that's what happened, is that I was living in New Zealand. We got married, had children, and when they were really little, he got small cell lung cancer. And so that was devastating news, as with anyone that experiences that as a family, and caring for someone that's so unwell. And then eventually he was called to be with God in heaven. And so he passed away, and I made the decision as a mom, and as a single mom on my own, to stay in New Zealand so that the kids would have consistency in terms of their environment and what they were used to. But we did live in Australia for a period of time when he was getting some care. And so we were able to experience the amazing culture over there, and the music. And one of the things he said to me when we were actually just still friends, we weren't together, he said, the place that you need to go is Tamworth. And he told me about it, and he said, we've got to get you a special hat. It was like this big, I think it's actually similar to the hat that I'm wearing in the picture.
Yes.
That you have advertising the show. And he said, that's one of the places. And it kind of always stuck in my mind. And then the opportunity came a few years ago to submit to be able to perform there. And I remember when they basically said, hey, we're offering you a couple of spots here. It was such an amazing thing, because I knew that was something, and he had already passed. He passed in 2016, but it was an opportunity to also honor that dream that he had for me to perform there. And that was really special. And then, the following year, I also performed there. And so that was really cool for a variety of reasons. Obviously, performing in a place that's incredible. Everyone is there for the music. And I had never really performed at a festival before like that. So that was really cool. But also knowing that it was this kind of, this, I guess, sort of a future promise, something that he saw that I was able to do in the future, which was really cool. And then I would say performing in Los Angeles was really incredible. Performing at Hotel Cafe, where, some of the biggest names in the industry have performed and shared their music. That was really special. And I also got to perform at Music Expo, which is an incredible music summit that's at Bisla, an incredible, music mentor of mine and many other people, such as Dido and a few of other people that are obviously in a completely different, tier than I am. But he saw something in me, and it was really cool to be able to share my music with some industry folks. And then I would say the last place, not last, but the most incredible opportunity was performing as Lucille Ball in New York City. And that was a show that I was doing prior to moving to New Zealand. And that was an incredible experience. And, I think it will always be something that I hold really near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
That I got to live in the city that was a dream of mine as a kid. And to be able to share, music and dance and theater with people that were coming to admire this icon, which was Lucille Ball, and to be able to portray her was really special. So that's a long list. I hope you're all still awake.
Oh, I'm sure we are. But it's an incredible story, and as well, I do want to say I am sorry for your loss as well, because obviously, when he told you about that great place, he knew that someday he might have thought, whenever it might have been, that you were going to be on that stage performing. So he saw the potential in you, and then of course when you went over to that other place as well, that other person also saw potential in you, and it's great to see where it's gone for you as well, which is quite good to see.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I kind of started out a little bit later than a lot of people, but it was I'm really thankful to do what I love, and I think there have been a lot of losses in the last 8 years. People that I really love and care about. The most recent one was my dad, and I think that it puts everything in perspective.
Yes.
Anyone that's tuning into this, I think, that has experienced any sort of loss, and and I think at a certain point in our life, grief takes many forms, and losing people that we care about is tremendously difficult, and nothing prepares us for it.
No.
And I think that's where things like talking to someone, even if they're really far away, and having that connection of community, and then being able to have things in our lives like our faith and our friends and family members and music, the healing power of music, that we can share so much joy in the melody and in the lyrics and sing them together. And I think it's something that is a real gift, and it's something that I appreciate now more than ever. I think because that was something that my dad always believed in me. He was my biggest supporter, he and my mom, and he really believed in my songwriting. And so I'm really, really happy that the last song that I released was his favorite. And that was one that I had dedicated to him, having no idea that months later he would pass. And that's Time Machine. So I think it's something that's really special to be able to, just to celebrate those special moments that we have with people, whether they're, in our lives currently or they've passed. Those legacies and memories, they never leave.
No, absolutely. And as you mentioned, Time Machine as well, great name for a fantastic song, and I guess in memory of your father as well. And it's great to see that you got the chance to hear it as well before suddenly passing away. So that's great to see that, and it's been very successful as well, that track. Did you, when you released it to your fans, did you expect the reaction it received?
No, I think I knew that I loved this song, and it had taken shape over a period of time, which sounds ironic a bit, It literally was in a time machine, this song. And I'm glad I'm laughing now, because I was like, I'm about to ugly cry about my dad.
Well, if you
So
did
thank you
that,
for-
then you become the first ever person to cry on this show in a good
Oh,
way.
well,
So
yeah.
it'd be
Well, it's,
making another history, but I like. So feel free to, by the
yes,
way.
I don't want anyone to forget this show. So,
History making, I like it in a good way as well.
yeah, it, yeah, I did not know that people were. It's one of those songs that, sorry.
No, you're fine.
When I came up with the bridge for the song, so I didn't write the music aspect of the song. That was actually done by Dan Antonovich, who's a brilliant songwriter and producer, and we've collaborated quite a lot. But he had this track, which was, Time Machine, and it was kind of what you're hearing now, but slightly different. But there were no lyrics and there was no melody line for a singer to use and to do. And the words came really, really quickly. Actually, my dad was driving through the mountains of Oregon. Tony had passed away about 6 months prior, and I was in Oregon with my mom and dad, and we're just driving through the snowy mountains, and it was about Christmas time, and I had the music playing in my earpods, and I was listening to it over and over again, and the words just came really quickly. But the part with the bridge, lay down your weapons, let's go and hug it out. I cried when I wrote that, and I had no idea. So this was in 2016. I didn't know what that meant right at the time. And then obviously years later, COVID, people fighting, people arguing with each other online. There was just so much heartache. And when I released that song, I really felt like this is the right time. I felt like, it was special to me. It was special to my heart. My dad loved it. But I didn't know if anyone else would necessarily relate to the words about, like if we could go back in time and love one another, and if we could not hurt one another, like what would that look like? I didn't know that was something that other people felt as well. And so it was really incredible hearing from people and hearing their stories. People share their stories with me a lot, and I find that really special, and that they would be vulnerable enough to reach out and write me a message. And so, yeah, I had no idea. I just believed in the song for a few years before I decided to finish it, because we had finished there's like some melodic lines that are going on in the background. So I was just singing with myself from the past. So that was pretty incredible. But yeah, I haven't released anything after this song, because I felt this radiant love that I knew was hard to top. And I felt that there wasn't another song that was ready, that was going to meet the people that were listening to the song, that were responding. They deserved follow-up, they deserve, and I think I have that song, actually, but yeah, that'll be for later this year. But I think it's really, really special to know that people wanted to know that they were loved, and wanted to know that they were important, and they wanted to feel inspired. And that is something that is really special. And I think music has that beautiful heart to be able to do.
Absolutely, completely agree with you there. And I want to say as well, because it was like, as you say, people are opening up to you about their stories of loss and great memories they have with their loved ones, and other people they may have, lost as well. And it's because of the fact that you're quite open and quite, relatable, and they trust you with their stories to tell you, and hope to get a response, and you always do respond to your fans and your support base, and it's great to see that. And because there's many people out there who they look up to, and they don't always get that response or that tribute, so they can relate to you a lot more than other people they might follow or interact with.
I really appreciate your kind words. It's really nice that we can all connect together, and to be able to encourage one another. I think And I certainly have reached out to people that I admire, and I don't always get a response either, and I think that people do get busy, and it's yeah, it's quite interesting being able to see it on both sides, and to remember that everyone has a purpose, everyone has a gift, everyone has something really special about them, every single person in the world, and to be able to remember that and to encourage that is really, yeah, it's something that we can get better at with time and practicing, to be able to see those people the way that God sees them. And it's so important, and it makes life so much more interesting, because we're all so different, right? We all come from different stories and different backgrounds, and yet we're converging on this great highway of life. And that's so exciting to me. Yeah, I love that. I love that we're not all alone in the world. We're not just by ourselves. That would be incredibly boring and sad.
It certainly would be, but I guess because of how good technology is nowadays as well, it makes it even more super connected and able to connect more easily than 20, 30 years ago, where I guess you had to write letters and other means of communication than now via social media and through the powers of like Skype and Zoom and etc. as well, and meetings, like Microsoft Teams, etc. So it's a lot more easier to connect with people nowadays, and compared to 20, 30 years ago, where it was a lot harder, and where you were probably feel more alone out there than they are nowadays. So there is a lot of positives and of course negatives from the
I was going to say that. Yeah, I think that the accessibility to everyone around the globe has never been faster, but deep connections are things that happen over time and take effort. And so that's where things that are really special, like postcards and writing letters and calling people, are things that I think we're probably kind of going back to. I think there's a nostalgia for simpler things in life, and really, I think you said it best. It really is great that we live in this time where people can connect so quickly, and I also think on the other side of things, that not everything is a remote press on or off. That there's that longing that people have to connect with other people in a deeper way, and that can really only happen, in the ways we talked about. So I think that's something that we can encourage our viewers today, that maybe there's a special someone that you've lost contact with, or a loved one that you've that you need to forgive and reach out to today, or tonight. Just to remember that there's sometimes we get little nudges, little messages from crazy Americans such as myself that might mention it. But yeah, I think being able to remind people that they're loved is something that we will never regret.
No, absolutely not. So, throughout the show as well, we've been plugging your social media across the bottom of the screen. Of course, your viewers and my viewers would have seen that. And in case you didn't know where you can find my guest, Emme, on, you can get her on Facebook. You can see there, facebook.com/Emme Lentino. And then also on X, even though you've not really posted much on X, you are active on there. I've seen you have liked some things in the past few days, and you're more active, I guess you're very active on Facebook and Instagram the most, I would say. I could be wrong, but you can see Emme Lentino there as well. But I do appreciate you as well, because when we were emailing as well, and then out the blue I got a follow from you, so that's quite nice. Because usually I follow my guests when I announce that you're on the show, so it was quite lovely to get the when I went on Instagram app after we emailed actually, and I went on Instagram, and then Instagram after I sent you my response, I saw a follow request from you, so I thought that's very nice of you, so I did follow you back. But usually don't do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
it's always sad. It's always sad when you make the every follow and you're like, maybe there's something wrong with it.
So usually I follow my guests first after I announce them on the show, whatever. So it was quite nice having it the way around for us. So I do like that. It was a good surprise. I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning my time, so it was
Yeah.
quite a nice surprise to wake up to. So to have you part of my my following. So I do hope you enjoy what you see from my social media and vice versa as well. But what are your goals then for this year? Now you mentioned you teased it a few minutes ago about new music coming out possibly this year. So I guess that might be one of your goals. What other goals have you got in mind for 2024 you want to accomplish?
I think one of the biggest things I want to accomplish is to define more of the message and the sound that I have for this next chapter. And why I say that is, I think that we're always evolving as people, and especially if you are in the music industry, you're evolving your sound and redefining what that means. And so that's something that I'm on a mission to do that. And I think that the message of hope and love and my faith has been a big kind of cornerstone of my sound thus far, but I can see that it's getting to be even bigger in what and I think probably losing my dad has been a huge driver of that. And I think being able to perform again is something that I would really love to do. I haven't done a lot of that in the last few years, little sprinkles here and there, but it's something that I would love to do more of, and to be able to travel and do that. So yeah, just kind of in talks about some different things over in Australia. I know Paul is saying the UK, and so there's so Paul and Edward are saying UK. Brad is probably saying South Carolina. But there's places that, it's great to go where people want you to be, where you're like, hey, if I sing here, if I perform here, will people come? That's always a big thing. So I think, just singing and being able to connect with people in that way that music does have that power to do is something that I also as another goal. And I think songwriting is probably, and I should have said that, I mentioned that first. I think songwriting, growing in my songwriting and really stretching myself in terms of how I write and being disciplined with that is something that I would love to see huge improvements in. I think that's something I'm quite excited about. So I guess it's a lot of growing, a lot of just being open to what it is that I'm meant to do. And I'm not in a race at all. So I've got to do this by this time. I think for me, it's very organic. I did the fast-paced thing, when Tony passed, I was in grief, and I plunged into trying to, get it back into music. And I did lots and lots of shows and lots of releases. And honestly, I became really tired because I was, I wasn't processing the stuff.
No, you were you were just focusing on keeping busy and trying not to think about the grief.
Yeah.
And just how busy as possible.
Yeah, I really was. And I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Yeah. We do those things. I had also very young children, and I was trying to, make things very light and positive for them. And so I think now, almost 8 years later, it's been this process of, wow, I love singing and I love writing music, but what is it that I'm really meant to do with this? And how am I best to serve the people that are in my life that I either knew, and are about to know? And that's my focus. And so that gives me a real peace, because it's not about achieving a certain thing or being popular around this or having this many listeners. For me now, honestly, it's like if all of that got taken away and I just had my voice and I just, that I would be thankful for that. So that's a really nice feeling, because I think that all of us want to be loved and we all want people to, to like what we're doing. But if that's our driving force, then it can be a real letdown and it's not really sustainable.
No.
So I want to do this, when I'm in my hundreds.
Yes.
And I think that only way I can do that is by really working hard and singing from the heart and putting out music that I feel I can stand by for, years and years and years to come. So that's where my focus is. And Yeah, and thank you for asking me that, because I think sometimes I don't know what the answer will be at
Yeah.
all, or
Well,
and
just to
that's what the beauty
prove,
is, non-scripted.
exactly, that's what proved that this show is, number one, unscripted and
Yeah,
unedited. I don't like to edit my shows because I don't want to cut something out as my guests might not want it to be edited. So that's why I do this
yeah,
one shot, one take. And the other thing about unscripted is because I like to, my people ask me all the time when they come on the show, can you send me a list of questions you're going to ask me? I'm like, well, I can't really, because I don't know what I'm going to say to you until it happens.
yeah,
Because I can give you one question, and that's about your life in New Zealand, and then it just goes from there. And the sweet thing to me the other day that someone said to me who I know, a colleague I work with in a company, he said to me that you think of the thing in your head, and then you just come out of it straight away. Exactly right. It just comes to my mind as we're speaking. It's not pre-prep. I do think of a few things beforehand by putting the YouTube comment, but sometimes I don't even get to it, or it's because we've talked about something completely different, or I just ran out of time to do guests. It's just this is how I work. So, but I think.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm the same way though. I
Yeah.
think that I don't. I'd love to be smoother.
Yeah.
I would love to be more eloquent,
Yes.
but I'm just me. And I've come to at my mature age, I've come to just appreciate that this is just how I am. I'm a little bit zany, a little bit colorful, quirky, and it's good. It feels good to kind of embrace who we are, doesn't it?
It does.
It just happens to be that we're on tape.
Yes, on tape, and it's live. It's even
It's
better.
alive.
Yes, with that love. But I got to say though, someone came on someone said the other day on my show about me being persistent as well. I just keep reaching out to people and just being on them until they give me the response I want, basically. Apparently, so don't know how true that is, but I mean, it's just great because it's just like it's just like a casual conversation, and that's what I try to bring. So of course you do lots of different interviews, so hopefully this has been a completely wild time so far compared to the other interviews you may be conducting and everything like that about your career so far.
Thank you. No, it's been really fun. I really enjoyed chatting with you. It kind of feels like we're having a coffee in our living room or something.
Great.
which is really lovely.
Yes,
so I really appreciate it. And I also want to say thank you to your listeners and the people that have subscribed to your channel and are a part of the Edward family. Just hello and thank you very much for being a part of this time with us tonight. And it's just awesome.
Well,
so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I thank you for your time as well, and I want to know as well, just curiosity, what time is it over there at the moment in New Zealand? Is it quite early?
So I just it's not super early. It's 9:44 in the morning on Friday.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
I thought when you said to me I could do 8 o'clock your time, I'm thinking, well, I hope that's not too early for you. I feel a bit guilty if it was like. I thought it might be like 4 o'clock in the morning or something.
No, but it's funny. I used to do a lot of things. Like at 3 or 4 in the morning,
right.
Especially over in the UK or even in America. That was something, and now I try to be a little bit more
flexible.
I try to go, is this because obviously the kids are sleeping, the dog's sleeping, and then I would get these little in the background. I'd say oh, Jazzy, shh. So it's good. The kids are off to school, and I can I can hang out with you and say it's evening time. It sounds very fancy.
Yes, on Thursday night, unless it's like Friday morning for you.
Yeah.
Now, I know in 15 minutes you were going on the airwaves, and I have to say as well, because not only are you a singer and songwriter, but you're also like as you say, a presenter and also kind of an actor as well, aren't you? So it's like you do all the trades, basically. That there's nothing you don't do, which is great to see.
Thank you. I really enjoy getting a chance to try different things and to work hard and really it's the people. It's we get to connect with people in whatever work we do, and it's so fun. Like I said, I would be so sad and bored if it was just me.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to be able to help tell people stories and listen to them and encourage them and be encouraged by them. I'm encouraged by you on your show and by the tenacity and the drive that you have for sharing stories and sharing what you love. And I think that that's something that is so cool and something I really admire. So
Thank you.
it's fun. Yeah. I mean
cool.
it. It's really cool.
And because again, on this show, there's really a topic I don't cover. I do, of course, music. I cover, obviously singers. Obviously, I do. MMA fighters. I do a bit of sport with wrestlers. I do a bit of magicians, a bit of comedians. I cover pretty much anything and everything. Which is like, like mind blowing. Like, how can you discuss all these different topics? It's like, well, I can, and I do. So I try my best.
That's awesome. Well, there might have to be a time where we'll have to get like. Just maybe like 3 guests on. It's like a round.
Yeah, I like
Edward
it.
Fowler round show.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that'd be a great idea to do. I'd be up for that. I'd be up for definitely. Is there anybody as well in because you're a presenter now. I'm guessing I could be completely wrong here, but I want to say you present a radio show of some sort. Because I know you do. You have done a bit of radio presenting previously, but I don't know if you are doing that right now. But if you are, very cool. I've always wanted to do that, but I've had no responses from people where I live at the moment. So I've always wanted to do that as well. I've done online radioing, but it'd be quite good to do it in an actual studio. It'd be quite fun to do that, I think.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I have done it in studios around, but it's something that I can do from my home base
cool.
because it's a Nashville-based show. Yeah. But obviously, I'm a co-host of it, and so it's really an incredible opportunity. Been working with them since 2019. They're also a nonprofit, and they give back in immense ways with their charities. And it's really nice to be a part of people and a community that loves to help others. And so it's something that I really enjoy. And it's nice to just kind of have that. Well, it's so nice to be able to do something that you really love and to learn. Every time I'm interviewing someone, I learn something new about them, about myself, about how to connect better, about how to listen better. And that's something that I'm, going back to the goals, I really want to become a better listener and an active listener, someone that, just fully, fully is submerged in the listening and then takes a moment and responds. I've known a few people like that, and I really admire them. And so that's something that I would like to get better at, maybe not being so hyper to respond.
Well, we're all learning. We always learn.
Edward, I'm growing up.
Well, we always learn. And I think the saying is, if you don't learn something new, then you're in the wrong job, aren't you? So I mean, it's always good to learn something new every day. And I'm sure you do every single day of the week when you're doing music, doing a show on the radio, or even with your children as well. So you're probably learning something three times in one day.
Lots as a mother.
Tongue twisting.
Lots as a mama.
yes, indeed. So, what is the name of the station you are co-hosting at? Because hopefully people can listen in and maybe check you out after this today.
Awesome, thank you. So it's called Heart of Indie Radio, and it's based in Nashville, but it's broadcast over 9 countries and beyond. And then the organization that actually kind of runs everything is called Hands of Grace - Ray of Light, and they've got amazing programs to help young people with suicide prevention, kindness, and anti-bullying, as well as music education program through Stax Academy. And they actually, are actively giving away money to individuals who are pursuing music as in music education, and that's something that's incredible to be a part of too. To see these young people and older people, it just depends on where they are in their path, but to get these music scholarships and to see, what they're doing with their lives is something that's just incredible. So tune in. We're every Friday night. It's the Memphis show, and that's with Avery and Eddie. And then we've got Saturday night, the Nashville show, and that's with Eddie and Emmy, as well as the European show. And then on Sunday mornings, it's a time of fellowship with Love Journey. So there's lots of different, lots of different things that we're doing. And I correct myself. It's not the European show. It's called Journey Studio. The name was changed. So I apologize, everyone that's listening that knows that's wrong, but yeah, Journey Studio. So that's like really cool, like pop and EDM music, and it's just nice to kind of have lots of different genres of music, and to know that people are tuning in and having a good time. We're a bit zany, the two of us together, Eddie and Emmy. So yeah.
No, thank you for the plugs, and hopefully we can listen to that and check it out. And if you don't, then you can be squared. Can't say any foul act.
Chastising people, Edward. Chastising people.
Well, someone said to me today that I had a guest on also from America who's actually living in Spain at the moment, and he said he came to the UK, and he said that he went to. He said Cambridge, but he didn't say Cambridge. He said it in a different way than how we pronounce it. So I corrected him by saying do you mean Cambridge? Because the way he said it, I'd never heard of before. So a colleague of mine in the place I work said that you'd like to insult your guests on your show as well. You make fun of it, because I said, do you mean Cambridge? He said, oh, I do, yes. I said, well, I never heard that other word that you said. So yes. I do have a bit of fun with my guests. I have a bit of fun with my guests. I have a bit of fun with my audience. So
this is where we're bringing it full circle, and we're saying, see, every day we learn something new.
Yes. About one another, isn't it, as well? But I do have two more questions for you, and then we'll wrap this up.
Okay.
So the one is about, of course, many moons ago, you did get to work with George Michael, part of the backing vocals for his Last Christmas song. How cool was that to be involved with?
Amazing. So George Michael's spirit was definitely present in our time together with his incredible backing vocalists, that each and every one of them have their own thriving careers, amazing people. So it was really incredible, and it still is one of those things that, London is an incredible place to be, and the energy that's felt there. Gosh, I wish I would have said that would have been on my list of places that was amazing to perform. But
because I'm thinking after him, I'm sure you're gonna mention the UK. But
yeah. Well, I mean, it just goes to show you I wasn't prepared, because I didn't have like my
script.
I didn't go, oh, okay, did I say that? Yeah. So, London, incredible people. Shirley, D. Lewis, Joe, and Jay. They're all amazing people, and they really took me under their wing. They had been in the industry and they'd seen it all. Obviously, they'd toured with people such as George Michael that are iconic. And I was just kind of a nobody I just was an independent artist that wanted to sing with them. And they said, yes. What? So I still say that. I'm like, are you sure that happened? So I sang with them in the studio, got to harmonize with them, and it was an amazing experience, and still is the most incredible studio experience that I've ever had. Hands down, the most incredible experience, and very humbling, because I think it had been one of those things that, you kind of never think it would ever happen. And then when it did, they were just so gracious and so kind that it was really like a lesson in humility, and a lesson in, no matter how far you've gone in your career, to be that open to working with someone that obviously hadn't done as much or at all. but I think that the work ethic, was there, and that something that we really connected, with, and having lost someone that we really cared about too was something that was really, it was quite special to be able to share in that kind of feeling with them. So that was incredible. And Al Clay is an amazing producer. So I was able to work with him. He actually recorded us in the studio. and as well as recording another song with me, which was really it was special. And so I'd love to go back. I'd love to go back and record and sing again in London. I think it's just a magical place. And I need to go to the West End and watch some great shows as well. That didn't happen last time. There wasn't enough time. But yeah, definitely when I go back at this, I love theater.
Yes.
Big theater lover. So
Well,
yes.
you have to make time for that for sure. Next time you're in
Yeah.
you're in town. And my last question to you on this lovely evening slash morning is, who are you wanting to collaborate with this year? Is there anybody in particular you would like to team up with? Maybe not even in music. Maybe it's to do with radioing or other projects you may have in the works.
Oh my goodness. So for singing, it's been a long time dream to work with Sarah McLachlan. She's somebody that I greatly admire as a vocalist and as a songwriter. And her song Angel was, I think, one of the most influential songs that I came across as a young person and as a young songwriter. And so Sarah McLachlan. And then I think I've always wanted to work with Matt Carney. He's actually from Oregon. What did he say? That song he came out with in like 2005 or six was, Kid from Oregon. And then he made his way to California. And I think now he lives in Nashville. But he's an incredibly clever songwriter, and I love his voice. So I would love to work with him. And Katie Nicole, who's an incredible artist. She just sings from the heart, and yeah, those three would be amazing. And I don't know. I mean, I think I am always coming across like projects or people that are really inspiring, and I think I really need to write that name down.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put it out there that I think that something is going to happen this year that's going to probably surprise me and blow my mind, and I'm excited for that. And I don't know what it is, but I'm ready. I'm
Good.
preparing.
Good. And I can't wait to see all your adventures in 2024 on your social media, which I will flag up just one more time, just in case people might not saw it. But if you are watching on YouTube, then you can see it throughout the show. My guests' social medias on Facebook, X, and Instagram, the three main places. Of course, you can check them out on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you may get your music from as well. It's been a pleasure having you on my little show out of Manchester, UK. I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation, and I hope that it was up to the same standards from the samples I sent you via email the other week. And what made you to accept the invite? Was it from those samples I sent you, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I knew that you were someone that was like kind and respectful to your guests, and you asked interesting questions. And yeah, I mean, I think it was probably all those things. And you were so kind in your email initially to me. I think that that's something that I really appreciate. You were very, you were just lovely. And I was like, oh, what a lovely person.
Thank you.
Of course I would love to chat with him.
Yes, great.
And I love your accent as well. I love the accent.
Thank you very much. Well, you're speaking to a Mancunian, unfortunately not a Cockney, but yes, thank you for the kind words, and I hope that I was respectful and friendly. I hope I came across like that during the course of our great conversation this evening.
Thank you, absolutely, and thanks again to everyone that's tuning in and being a part of this. And if you want to have my music and actually own it, you can download it off of my website, which is just emmelentino.com. A lot more of my music will be available on that website. It's just something that, as an independent artist, as I'm sure everyone understands with streaming and whatnot, it's just it can be challenging with distributors and stuff. So I'm trying to have my music and merchandise all available on my website. And so check it out, emmelentino.com. .com.
Yes.
That would mean a lot.
.com indeed.
.com.
Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you again so much. And again, as Emmy pointed out, if you enjoyed this episode of my show, then make sure to smash that like button. Share the video around. Tell them more about Emme Lentino. Tell them more about the best kept secret here on YouTube from Manchester, UK. About how this is a very independent show, like Emmy is an independent artist, is an independent talk show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. Even I don't know what I'm going to call this show, but it's something like that. And, tell me about this episode in the comments. Future questions, what you thought of the episode, questions you thought I should have asked Emmy as well. And as well, if you're new around here and you like the content and you want to see more of my show and more of me, then all you have to do is subscribe. It takes 10 seconds or less to subscribe to my channel. It really means a lot. And we've got over 234 subscribers. And until the next episode drops, whenever that will be, enjoy the rest of your morning, night, evening, or afternoon.